Wayamana hey, Wayamana Timwae. At some 40 shoko. Ghana for me, the unbreakable joy is blessing. Oh, share HRETV. Koswana she. Now be in share unbreakable. Keep it locked.
Check the statistics. What from beaucoup d'État on my big six. We remove all the girls, logistics. You want here top speed, Olympics. Yo, what up, people? It's your boy Natalie, and I'm watching HRETV, man. Keep it locked. Badman operator.
Hello, guys. It's your girl Pamela Odame Watara, and I just want to recommend HRETV for you guys for all your latest interviews. Just stay tuned at HRETV. I love you guys.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching me live on HRETV. HR, His Royal Majesty. Oh my goodness, I love the name of this TV. HRETV. Oh my goodness. Just catch us live on YouTube. Just go there, HRETV, and click subscribe, and then get update on everything that they put there, and then watch them also live on Facebook. When you hear the name HRTV, you are talking about television that comes from the heart. Oh, HRTV. Good morning, children. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, R, E, H, R, E. HRETV. Go and watch HRETV. Bye bye.
I was at one, your friend Calibos, the only boss with what is. Do you know about Tap Send? Unima Metro. Tap Send is one of the easiest, convenient, reliable money transfer app you can get. You can download Tap Send on Google Play Store or App Store. We download it and then you register. Register and you are good to go to send money across every place, many countries in the world. Tap Send. Why wouldn't that?
Yankutuna sio nyamenono. Yanana se wa maya tamfuate shoko. Hey, tiawa ne de no. Wayamana yamenwanwa. Hey, wayamana timwae. Atamfuate shoko. Ghana for me the unbreakable joy is blessing. Oh, share HRETV. Koswana she. Now be in share unbreakable. Keep it locked.
Check the statistics. What from beaucoup d'État on my big six. We remove all the girls, logistics. You want here top speed, Olympics. Yo, what up, people? It's your boy Natalie, and I'm watching HRETV, man. Keep it locked. Badman operator.
Hello, guys. It's your girl Pamela Odame Watara, and I just want to recommend HRETV for you guys for all your latest interviews. Just stay tuned at HRETV. I love you guys.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching me live on HRETV. HR, His Royal Majesty. Oh my goodness, I love the name of this TV. HRETV. Oh my goodness. Just catch us live on YouTube. Just go there, HRETV, and click subscribe, and then get update on everything that they put there, and then watch them also live on Facebook. When you hear the name HRTV, you are talking about television that comes from the heart. Oh, HRTV. Good morning, children. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, R, E, H, R, E. HRETV. Go and watch HRETV. Bye bye.
I was at one, your friend Calibos, the only boss with what is. Do you know about Tap Send? Unima Metro. Tap Send is one of the easiest, convenient, reliable money transfer app you can get. You can download Tap Send on Google Play Store or App Store. We download it and then you register. Register and you are good to go to send money across every place, many countries in the world. Tap Send. Why wouldn't that? I was at one, your friend.
HRTV so for his refreshing speaking, name you may minimum between common. Jubilee ya to the day said time with Tap Send so and the issue. Sabre mistress for when you know you're so friendly and I figure in fact educated and she so come. And the topic near very beautiful, a very good one too. And it's a continuation of what we have been discussing all this while. Now topic no I'll say cybersecurity professionals in demand in commercial and federal opportunities. In the same, yeah, the bogo. You need to be in the Bishia attrition common. You need and I said Kojo Akwe. Now there's also a special guest from the federal side and also Bishia attrition common. I'm a bibia I come and say Unya enya mejonia from yana unya so mejonia na bibia enkoso enya kabakaba sabre nyameka achira ode say mame kwan na me fa akonye so na me ko fa abafo ma so ya se edi dwedi ebro no me fa masida emo no ye di kind through feel good services we share your mental health programs ya ni nyina ono ane ne twetwe komo de komo bibia ekoso kaba enti sabre me sira wo say we'll publish our choir if you're more feelgoodservices@gmail.com. So also be or say feel good homes, brand pepe be near the home, so pay Airbnb, so you has a simple now part and I say be a open so almost dynamo, but us as no dynamo, so I'll be come from our 513-372-5758 and almost over rating a very affordable starting from $35 and going. Vacation and the bus season in December, so Union Bokia and your late into the from also about this LSC, our registered primary health caregivers, our both Maryland and Ohio into the from so nurse practitioner, our primary care personal so and I say be a practitioner and I say IV hydration, I say be a weight management cramper. From nominal in the Victor Kabakama, I will 513-268-2740. The Bible Center will say, Obabo Amamako, financial ignorance of America. Titru, Obabo will get rid of college fund at this one, and I say, be a good family, yeah, Eddie Boy, my echo school, and I see, yeah, Eddie is for. So when it comes to life insurance, and I say, income protection, college fund, Union by Millicent Sefred 937-321-2270, and I said 937-270-9882. Oka can say picking a smile, then you will discount. Come on. African restaurants, Papa, I bet you to say, Cincinnati about it, so and I make up a money of the for the especially so what is Cincinnati, I'm saying, Quadia, Mr. Chweni, Echo Cabo, Bethel, African Caribbean market. Ohodom ana bibia kama apotoria na no senya obi smile e ma ye order apotoria ni asanka e de bread nti omodi ade from na osuso ye online purchases ni bi eno kan de kumi wo honom no say you don't have to be in the market to buy stuff bibia wo bia within the United States bia no obetimi awada wo niam na bibia akoso kaba nti no for kabod e wo 513-578-3802 and na say 571-282-5365. Then you will take it out. Not be also come back. Okay, you the insurance of a joint discount or catch on the same became as well. Not be also come back. Tatap said Papa no. Says Sabre will it tatap send. And I say, if you know phone, so that's how we Sabre a year. And catch the year. Also, so obey me. I download the Nafidia. What me any young Apple benefit and what tatap send a home now. So App Store that because so Google Play Store depending on phone crowd kita say Android and not iPhone. We download the app we are now sign up make sure so the promo code PK-KAY every share. The share will be $15. So $15 so no. We send with fancy kind of $50 now send us $100 now send ya. On bet $50 on messing if Sika person will send no. But on more the $15 best also because PK no am a bonus $15 one. On your first transaction, so we'll send this KBA and send up the promo code now. Promo code no. You for best year, I share. Yem is a best sheet, no. The show body answer or best in the second as an eye to it. Sabre, Edamase. Someone in my ass will 88 now because to a FF would be under what officer Umbra MBD on the MBD Jumidi Kabakaman. Any Bema, Jojo, and a better between Common, Ebion. But answer the bear introduce Jojo no. Never call na. Ya kotie anu disem ewo tatapsen akache na afedie de wo bia ne de to aso. So director oh ha ye ma kwa ba badwumadi so.
Good
All right,
evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Pachoma Mohina, thanks so much for joining on a Monday. And we said must I see you, so thank you. We don't have any hard updates today. I think since we have two guests, PK, we just let them get straight to it. But no updates from our end since the last
right.
time. All right, bye.
Yeah, that's it. Next week, you better end October on the right with breast cancer awareness. You need to say about Juliet, Lutrot, and the BD is uncommon. And then about Juliet, and you say about Jim Michelle, big sister. Intino, let's do Michelle, Bonkai to one of them, Mawunyam, Ubuso for Susuna way. Jojo, you're power.
Yeah, PK me that super.
Well, happy birthday belated.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, my show.
Kakra.
Oh, yeah, my show.
Mami ameti asiye.
And Ghana ever.
Bye.
Diana was a war. No. Wamba, I'm a chum. Let me some surprise about Wamba.
Oh, the next time we'll make that happen.
Nice one. I hope the birthday Nico Yepa.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was very great. It was very
nice
great.
One. And then I said, so they are fair. I call a pro as a Babeka with you. Oh, dear, can New Year, birthday, no New Year, no. Until I said, the Miasa was take with now only a even on your birthday mode in the crap, no, or impacting others in terms of technology. And cybersecurity as well, you know, yeah, that's it. Cyber, no, you remember, I now why introduce yeah, second guest, no, am I from the federal side, and now I feel yeah, you did you no ashes.
Absolutely. Again, from last week, Monday, we spoke about how to break into cybersecurity and the things to look out for both beginners who are coming from a non-tech background and those who also have a tech background, how to pivot yourself into cybersecurity. But today, you know, what we are going to be talking about is how to unlock your potential from a commercial perspective and a federal perspective, because there are so many federal opportunities you can get and also commercial opportunities you can get. So with that being said, I'll introduce my other co-host, a friend named Tony Edu. He's on the chat over there. So Tony, if you by chance can turn your camera on so people can see you, who you are. So Midru, federal sector, then I can hand it over to you. So Tony, if you're able to share or turn your camera on, that'll be great. Yeah, so as you can see, Tony is in the camera mode over there. That's Tony Edufrimpong. He works with a federal organization. I wouldn't want to put the federal organization's name out there, but then he's been doing this for some time now.
Yeah, who Tony?
Oh, Tony works screen is Tony, and Tony what's on his screen is I think is on the top when you look in the chat. I see Tony up over there.
It looks like I'm not the main focus.
Okay.
Tony, so that's Tony over there. That's Tony over there.
So the camera camera and you full way. As the T half in your home.
Yes, so Tony over to me, I just still cameraman and I'm saying who ye and on person who school out.
There you go. Oh, Tony go school baby.
Go school papa.
Oh, I don't all right. Into watch so at this point, viewers, we're gonna start the show, and at this point onwards, it's gonna be mainly English for the purpose of those who cannot understand one of our local dialects from Ghana. So please, if you have all your questions, type them in the chat. If you're on Facebook, YouTube, just put them up and we'll make sure that we read everybody's questions for them. Again, I just want to make this emphatic. So today is our last day for cybersecurity for the year. So please take advantage of it, because cybersecurity is always in October every year. And I know say every year we do have updates that come from that space. So please take advantage of it. And before we leave the show tonight, I may have a job offer for somebody. So please, and that'll be a good way for you to also consult Jojo, and Jojo can help you go through the process of what I might put out there. So I'll put the name, the title of the job, and also know the availability of it and all the good stuff before we leave today. So stick around and make sure you have the questions packed up, and we will take this opportunity to actually suck a lot out of them and make sure so we can also impact people that are back home and the future generation. Jojo, over to you and Tony.
All right. Okay, thank you very much again. I'll go ahead and share my screen so the audience can have a fair idea of what we'll be delving into today. Talking about how to break into cybersecurity, usually for the commercial and federal opportunities, right? So one thing we always want to start this with statistics, right? And stats never go wrong, right? So in today's cybersecurity market, right, it's been proven that get into when it comes to cybersecurity. But a lot of people don't know how to get into it, right? So when we spoke in our last meeting, we talked about green card holders, citizens, how you can pivot into the cybersecurity career, right? So we're talking about the diverse opportunities these sectors offer. That's the commercial sector and the federal sector, right? Now, when you look at cybersecurity from the commercial approach, right? So these commercial entities, be it from the finance, healthcare, or pharmaceutical, hospitality, their main focus when it comes to cybersecurity today is protecting their business organizations from cyber threats, at the same time being able to maximize profit, right? So imagine you bank with Bank of America, right? And you go to your ATM and your ATM is down, right? What will you do? You keep asking yourself, why do I keep going to Bank of America when their ATM is always down? The chances of you switching to a different bank that's reliable will be the best approach for you. So what do you end up doing? You tell yourself, okay, Bank of America is not reliable. Let me go to what? Chase Bank, because anytime I go to Chase Bank ATM or I log into my Chase Bank application, it's available to me immediately. Now, since you left Bank of America, they are losing a customer. They are losing money, right? So from a commercial perspective, is to make sure they're protecting their business at the same time being able to what? Maximize profit or make money. Now, when you look in the federal sector, right? Now, most federal organizations are not maximizing profits, right? What they do is, as a cybersecurity analyst, your goal is to protect the government agencies from such attacks, right? So if you work at an organization such as the Department of Homeland Security, let us use USCIS, where most of us are coming from the diaspora, right? Or Africans, wherever you may come from. You had to go to some form of immigration or visa process, right? So if you're filing for your spouse or a loved one, someone coming to visit you, they had to get visa, right? So USCIS is one of the places where they'll have to register and get information so you can enter the United States, right? Now, over here, USCIS doesn't make money off you, but in some cases they do. But then what you do as a cybersecurity analyst in the federal sector is to protect the federal government's processes. The same way when it comes to the Department of Justice, they are defending their processes. Just imagine that you work at Department of Justice and a system that keeps registry of all sex offenders in the world has been compromised. Imagine the harm it could cause. Or imagine that the system that accounts for all folks with felonies in the United States, right? And someone's able to get into that system and wipe out all the number of felons that we have in America. Just imagine how devastating it can be and the harm it could cause to the United States as a whole. So when you work in the federal field or federal sectors, right, The goal is to protect federal systems and how they operate on a day-to-day basis. So that's why usually when you look at the federal sector, most people are looking for folks that have a citizen or are citizens or have what we call some form of clearance, beginning all the way from a public trust all the way to a top secret clearance, SCI polygraph, right? Now, I will not delve too much into the levels of clearances and what they mean, but then I'm just trying to open the field for folks to understand the opportunities that lie in the commercial sector and the opportunities that lie in the federal sector. You understand? With that being said, if there are any questions that anybody has in the chat, we'll go ahead and listen to them. If not, let me continue to my next slide. So when we're looking at commercial cybersecurity roles, right, a lot of people have had a lot of stuff, right? But then the main ones that comes to me and that resonates with me is you hear of GRC analyst, right? Now, someone might ask you, what is a GRC analyst, right? So GRC basically means governance, risks, and compliance, right? So the word governance, what comes into mind? The governing or institutions or bodies that we use in our day-to-day, right? So what do our processes, what was it governed by, right? Now we come by the risks assessment, right? Now we are seeing that risks will always be imminent, regardless of where you find yourself in, right? The risks that you can get into an accident on the highway, it's unknown, right? But due to the what you call it, the risk reduction methods, maybe maintaining your speed at a certain minimum level will make the risks prone to you to get an accident way lower than what it used to be if you're speeding, right? I don't want to use this specific topic, but it's a touchy topic that is in currently Ghana right now with a man of God, whereby his son was speeding and ended up killing people, right? If he had reduced that speed, the risk of having that encounter would have been very, very low. So when we look at we talk about the R from GRC is the risks, right? The risks we are looking at. Now, the compliance aspect of it is certain regulatory requirements that we need within our organization, right? So when we talk about GRC analysts, it's basically ensuring compliance with industry standards, right? Now, a lot of folks have heard of NIST. Usually when you pursue RMF, that's the risk management framework, right? Others will also hear of the ISO 27000 framework. That's a globally accredited standard that's being used, right? Now, NIST is usually found within the United States only, right? It's a framework or a standard point for United States when it comes to security measures and security protection, right? Now, ISO 27000 in this sense is rather for a global perspective, right? You can even find ISO 27000 in Africa, Ghana, wherever it is. And even ISO is also used for manufacturing companies. Anytime, let's say BMW, Toyota has to make their cars, they have to go to a certifying body inspecting their cars, right? So we have something called ISO 9000, right? It's also used for what's called the manufacturing companies. And we have those also for the medical field, right? And we talk about PCI DSS, right? Everybody over here today, I'm pretty sure, has a debit or credit card, right? Now, the PCI DSS standard was coined after we realized that there were a lot of misuses when it comes to credit card transactions, right? So they coined the PCI DSS as a standard that organization that engage in any form of card transaction or payment transaction needs to what? Abide by those standards. And there are 12 standards that you need to meet when it comes to PCI DSS. Now, GDPR, you usually find it within Europe, and it pertains to usually data privacy and protection laws, right? Now, I will not delve deep into it. If you want to go more into these kind of stuff, we have a plethora of classes that people have, and you can engage them in, right? Now we talk about IT risk analyst. What's an IT risk analyst? Like we said, you're just performing a risk assessment to identify the risks that you pose in your organization or in your environments, right? You're assessing the risks and you end up putting mitigating strategies together, right? To make sure the risks do not continue to show up, right? Like again, we said, You cannot eradicate risk, but what you can do, you can minimize risk. So that's what the risk analysts will end up doing. Now, someone might ask me, do I need to have any technical background to become a risk analyst? And the answer is no, right? It's based on the fundamental and the basic IT courses that you've taken will allow you to be able to perform this function, right? Now, I'm probably sure a lot of folks have heard about vendor risk management or third-party risk management, right? Imagine you just bought a vehicle, right, from Toyota, BMW. Yes, the vehicle is sold by Toyota, right? But then the brake parts are not made by Toyota. The seat belts are not made by Toyota. The airbags are not made by Toyota, right? Toyota ends up outsourcing all these products from other vendors to make a Toyota vehicle a complete vehicle, or a Mercedes-Benz E-Class or BMW 7 Series a complete vehicle, right? So before these vendors are onboarded or used by Toyota, how do we validate them? Right? So that's the role of what a vendor risk analyst does. We will also make sure we validate those vendors coming into our organization that we're about to utilize them, right? And again, you don't need to have a technical background to understand these kind of specific rules. And we always backtrack. When you go back to the fundamentals of what you've been taught, when you go to CompTIA Security Plus and the classes that a lot of people are offering, right? It will give you the basic knowledge that you need. Another thing we are seeing today is data privacy, right? Privacy is a big thing today. It's a big thing whereby your data can be sold. Again, I remember, if you guys remember in the last session, we talked about you'll be there and someone will text you from an unknown number saying you have a package from UPS, right? Now you ask yourself, how did this person get my number, right? But you forgot that about a week or two ago, you were surfing online trying to shop from somewhere, and you open a specific URL, right, on your phone, and you said that ended up browsing, and it said, oh, send your email and information so we can send you, or what you call it, promos, right? And because it was a 70% promo, you thought it was a good thing. Now, these are the means and ways where threat actors steal your information. So from a privacy perspective, we want to make sure that before someone asks for your information, there has to be some form of consent, right? You can't just say, oh, accept cookies without not giving me the option to deny these cookies or choose the specific cookies that I need to accept so you can track and monitor my day-to-day on what I do on my phone. Because if you realize you'd be on Instagram surfing or Facebook surfing and you open one particular site that maybe sells furniture, right? Down the week, probably 2 weeks coming from now, you end up finding a lot of furniture stores coming up on your phone because you have accepted to log on or like serve that particular website. So now they are sharing your information with other folks that offer the same product, right? So from a privacy perspective, we want to make sure that we can protect you, the individual, from your information being exposed, right? So that's where it comes to privacy analysts, ensuring that compliance with data protection. That's the key thing we want to find over here. And last but not least, I'm probably sure a lot of people have heard about cloud, AWS, or Google Platform, Microsoft Azure, cloud. Now, when we talk about cloud, it's not the physical cloud you see in the skies, right? No, this is an IT or tech term that's used whereby your information is stored in a data center whereby it's managed by someone, right? Now, back in the day, you remember when you have companies, you have big or mainframes or servers in a specific room, right? Whereby you have your IT or network engineers or infrastructure engineers. Basically, what they do is maintenance of those equipment. Now we realize that it is expensive, and tedious to maintain these or servers on an on-prem environment. On-prem means on a premises environment because now you have to account for the amount of electricity you're going to be using, the amount of protection you have to give to these servers on your premises, right? Now, geniuses like Jeff Bezos and Google and Microsoft came with an alternative method whereby it will reduce the burden on folks having that on-prem environment. So instead of your organization, maintaining all those files and programs at one place, AWS, that's Amazon, has said that we'll store this information for you and process it for you. All you have to do is, just use our interface of what you want, right? So now, how do you secure that environment for AWS or Microsoft Azure? That's why you come in as what? As a cloud security compliance analyst, right? Now you can even become a cloud security engineer or a solution architect or a cloud practitioner. There's a lot of things the commercial sector offers, right? And these are the kind of things we want to engage our community and folks who don't really know exactly what field to go into. With that being said, I'll switch over to the federal cybersecurity roles and I'll hand it over to Tony to chime in. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Jojo, for such a brilliant presentation. Tony, since today's your first day, can you just give us a little bit background about you in a minute? Then go ahead and just take over the federal cybersecurity roles as well.
Okay, thank you very much. So, my name is Tony Edu. As stated before, I'm also a cybersecurity professional. I've been in it for some years now. I would say it's a very good place to find yourself. Um, Contrary to what people think, it's not as difficult. I always say if you can read and write and think, you can do it. Um, it might seem tough to get in, but once you get your feet wet, if you're very determined, trust me, you'll make it. So, in the span of my career, I've been mainly in the federal area. I've been contracted to work with various federal agencies. I've done a little bit of commercial work, but not as much as Jojo. So um, on that side, I pivot to him for some of that information. But on the federal side, I'm very comfortable because I've been there for a minute. Okay, so I'll jump into the slides. So for the federal cybersecurity rules, there are tons of them. I'm very sure that most people on the call have either been to a class or at least heard some of the rules. There are common rules out there like the ISO that lots of people, when they attend classes, it's mostly an advertisement that there are ISO rules, there are SC rules or SSO rules. But other than that, there are other ones, as you can see on the screen, ISM, system admin, network, network engineers, incident response analysts, and SOC analysts. So for the ISO, I want
So,
to.
Tony, I got a question for you, real
Mhm,
quick. The way the PowerPoint has it broken down, is that like
mhm.
in order of levels? Like
No,
you're
not
gonna
at all.
start? Oh, okay, got you.
Not at all. Yeah. But I'm going to explain all of them and try to give examples as well, just to water it down so that everyone kind of gets it. So for the ISO role, which is the Information System Security Officer, can be likened to something like an analyst in the commercial realm. So the ISO is someone who is assigned a system, and when I say a system could be anything at all. Like so long as it's an application or it's a tool that is being used in an organization, is regarded as a system. So somebody is in charge of Windows, somebody is in charge of um, like all the other applications that you use in the company. So you're being the analyst, you're the one who prepares um, prepares the system for it to be audited. You always have to make sure that the system is compliant and is compliant with the federal regulations, which Georgia had mentioned some of the federal regulations in his the previous session that we had. But for the federal environment, it's mostly it's RMF, mostly risk management framework. There are a few others that are not as popular, but the most popular one is RMF, which a lot of boot camps that are being offered usually teaches. So for the SO role, you are mainly securing the system and preparing them for an assessment. If you see, the third one is the SCA. The SCA is the role that actually does the assessment. So it's more like an auditor. And I know in every organization, you have people who come there to audit, or you might have internal auditors that make sure that all the checks and balances and everything is in place, or you're meeting whatever standards. Like I said, in the federal aspect of things, it's usually the risk management framework. So making sure that the organization meets the standards. We have the ISM, that is the Information System Security Manager, and he is usually somewhat of a PM, if I should say. So he would have an oversight of maybe a whole team of maybe 5 or 10 ISOs across maybe 20 or 30 systems. Mainly as a PM, you'll probably be in the background making sure that everyone is doing their work, type of thing. And you'll be um, the subject matter experts that everybody will try to contact when they have issues, whatnot. Then we have the system administrators, the engineers. Those are more technical roles, including the SOC analyst. So the system administrator usually has to do with, um, let me try to break it down. So the system admins usually they have to do with access and actually maintaining the service and those kind of technical aspects of cybersecurity. The networking engineer also has to do with the network internet as well as um, all the data that is transferred in and out of the organization goes through them. Also making sure that VPNs, etc., always are intact and available for people to work. Those are more on the technical side. Incident response is also the team that actually, anytime there's an issue, like something is reported, like maybe there's a phishing email is reported, or maybe there's something like maybe data spillage, maybe a leak, or those kind of things. So usually in organizations, we create tickets, and those are I would say, first responders. They receive the tickets and ship them out to the necessary people who do the actual work to make sure that these things are fixed. And so those are the incident responders. Then the SOC analysts. Those are the people who actually I would say they are the company shield. They are the ones who are doing making sure that um, scans are being made. Part of the vulnerability management team, they make sure that all the systems are scanned, making sure that uh, all the tools that are necessary to protect, like there's an antivirus, all those things are under their scope. They need to make sure that all the systems are being scanned and protected, and anyone who is coming in and out of the system, um, between them and the system administrators, they make sure that um, they know everyone who is going in and out of the system, so that if there are any unknowns, then they can investigate. So those are the people who actually find out if maybe there's an attack, and then they'll give it to the incident response people to work on it. But yeah, so there are so many roles when it comes to the federal side, and there are others that are not even there. There are policy analysts, privacy analysts, risk management framework analysts, and there are so many others. But um, really, there are jobs out there. And as Jojo has said before, there are over 500,000 jobs that are hanging, and they really need people in that sector. So thank you. Thank you very much. Can move to the
Thank you
next
very
one.
much. Thank you very much.
Mm,
Is that all the slide? Oh, okay, you got another one.
okay.
Tailoring your resume. I think this is where a lot of people struggles with. Take us through, Tony.
Okay. So
Oh, Tony,
Jojo, do you wanna?
before you
Mhm,
proceed, whilst it's
mhm.
fresh in people's mind, can you go to the previous slide?
Oh yes, yes. Please, does anyone have any question?
Um, because I want to make a point. Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching me right now, or if you're just listening, the part that on the top, the one that says the ISO, the Information Systems Security Officer. That is the job that I said I have a job opportunity for, and it's a hybrid role, 3 days in the office and 2 days remote. It's a federal job, so if you are interested, please let me know, and after that, I'll hand you over to Jojo and Tony to help you with your resume and your interview uh, um, part of it, like so that you can be ready for that. So please let me know. And this is in Dayton, Ohio. So if you are interested, please let me know. All right, send
Thank
me a
you very
private
much.
message, and I'll just give all the information to Tony and Jojo, and they'll help you when it comes to guiding you through the direct path. All right, Jojo, you can go to the next one. I just want to say once it was fresh in their
One
mind.
more thing I wanted to say is that when it comes to federal jobs, a lot of people just think it's a federal, as in like maybe just Maryland, Virginia, DC area, but it also includes local government. So all state jobs also fall within the federal. So there are local governments, but they also use the same framework. So I know that people think that for federal jobs, you always need to be a citizen because most of these jobs are cleared jobs,
Yeah,
but that's
security
not always the
clearance.
case. Yeah, no, that isn't always the case. Like in my line of work, I've actually met someone who I think came here as a student and had like an I don't know what's called. Is it OPT? I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he was actually I actually met the person at the job, so that meant he had even been there before I even came, and he was doing his 2 years renewal, and I think he got to a point where he had to renew, and then they took him off the contract because I think he had an issue renewing. It took a while, but once he was able to renew, he went for another job at the same place and came back. So it's difficult, but you can still get it because it's like submitting your resume when you're not a citizen compared to somebody who is a citizen. Usually you have to really, really ace the interview to be chosen over the next person, but it's still doable. But it's just pretty tough.
All
But for the
right.
local government, the state jobs, it doesn't matter. Green card holders can work on the state level. There's no clearance required for that. Yeah. Okay. So tailoring your resume. Jojo, do you want to begin or you want me to take this one? Silence is golden. I'll start.
Oh, I
So
can definitely, I can definitely chime in this in
okay,
regards to tailoring your resume. Then Tony will come back to it to continue, right? So in
okay,
regards to tailoring your resume, I'm going to speak from a commercial point of view because that's the field within our work. In as much as I've worked in the federal government before, I want to key in on the commercial resumes, right? Now, 90% of the time, recruiters don't want to see more than 2 pages, right? If it's more than 2 pages, it becomes annoying, right? And remember, these resumes are usually not reviewed by recruiters in the initial stage, right? They go to a resume extractor, right? Whereby it has keywords that the job description is actually looking for. So if those keywords are found in your resume, right, it will now sideline your resume and or put it in a different pile, right? So that will be the pile that your recruiters and hiring managers will be looking at, right? So these are the key things we are looking for. So one thing I want to emphasize is a well-crafted resume is your first impression with a potential employer, right? So making sure that you've crafted your resume well, right? A lot of people just copy and paste resumes that have been shared around, right? Without looking at the grammar that's in the resume and also how the sentences are constructed, right? If you get you a hiring manager that's very particular about your writing skills, the first thing I'm going to look at is your resume, right? And in this line of work, knowing how to write well is a key thing, right? It's very, very key to make sure that you know how to write well. So making sure that your resume is crafted the best way possible is what will aid you in getting these job applications, right? And again, like I said, please and please again, right? It's great to put you have 15 years, 20 years experience, but no one is going to look at your resume if you have 5 or 10 pages. As a hiring manager, I don't have time for that. I'm looking at what are you currently doing right now that's impacting your organization, right? So another thing most hiring managers will look at is quantifiable achievements, right? If you're able to highlight your accomplishments in the form of metrics, you reduce this, you increase this. These are the kind of things that hiring managers are looking for. What impact were you able to or have in that company, or what impact do you have today in that organization? What did you change in that organization? And again, the whole resume is about what we called defend yourself. It's like myself, right? I'm telling you that, oh, I was an airborne paratrooper. I used to jump out of planes, right? So I need to be able to explain how, or when it's time for me to jump out of planes, the process, right? So whatever you put on resume, you should be able to defend it, right? And again, I've seen a lot of resumes and people are putting a lot of chaff over there. So be careful on what you put on your resume. So that is why we want to aid you in making sure you put a well-articulated resume that you, the individual, can explain to hiring managers or can speak to when a recruiter asks you, what have you done in the past and what are you currently doing? A lot of people end up fumbling or have those pauses when you're speaking because they don't know their resume. It was done by someone who's already in the field that can speak into it and have not practiced, right? The thing is, you have to practice, practice, practice. So it becomes muscle memory. So when they actually tell me about myself, you're able to flow and in some form of fluidity, right? Another thing we're going to speak last is clear and concise language, right? Now, in the commercial sector, right, a lot of commercial entities don't know the jargons that are used in the federal sector. So you want to minimize the use of words such as NIST or 853. They don't know all of that. You would rather want to put the actual full meaning of the word over there, right? You don't want to put RA, risk assessment. They don't know what a risk assessment is. And 90% of the times, these recruiters are not coming from technical background. They're just human resource personnel that are what outsourcing talent for companies. So you want to make sure your resume stands out and is clear and concise to the point. The last thing I'll say before I pass it over to Tony is if you have a certification, do well to add it in there. One thing I've realized about a lot of folks is probably they attended or university somewhere in Ghana or Africa, and maybe they study political science, right? Then in their resume, they say they attended the University of Ghana, but then this time around, they put in that they did computer science. Now, when it comes to assessing or verifying your certificate, and you send that transcript and it doesn't say computer science, you've done yourself a disservice over there. So if you study political science back there, keep it as political science. People evolve, time changes. So you evolve from being a political science student and you've now pivoted into cybersecurity. Under no circumstance should you lie and say you did computer science while you did not do it. Then when it comes to background check, you find yourself wanting. Another thing I find a lot when people put resumes is putting fictitious uh, jobs that they say they've worked at. If you know very well you didn't work at Deloitte, do not put Deloitte over there. If you know very well you didn't work at KPMG, do not put over there because these are big institutions that they can go and verify, right? Remember, there's KPMG in Ghana, there's KPMG in Nigeria, there's PwC in Ghana. It's all over the world. So it doesn't matter how far back you go, do not put places where I'm going to work. If you have your own company and you want to use that, put it over there, right? And that is something that you can speak into because it's your company, right? Put places that you've worked over so we can go and verify you when they're doing these background checks. You understand? Nobody's going to verify you and then go look at your job title. They just want to know, have you worked there like you claim to be? So there's one thing that I want to hammer on very, very well. Now, let me pass it over to Tony to chime in when it comes to federal resumes.
Thank you very much, Joshua. Thank you. So, as far as federal resumes, making it stand out, there are a few things that he stated that are very good points. Um, but for the federal side, I know most people must have attended a class where some of these publications need to be on there. So when you're telling your resume, there are some keywords that you might want to see on a federal resume that, for a commercial resume will not make sense to put on. There are some people who attend the class and after class because they are looking for a job. And some of these classes teach both commercial and federal frameworks. So since it's their first time going out there, they try to make a resume that will suit both parties. But it doesn't really work that way because, like he said, if you're putting things like 2 years, 3 years on your resume, most likely you're not gonna be called. Because let me give you an example. There's a job that I was part of an interview panel where we're hiring someone, and it was for a level one role, which a level one would be an entry level job. You know, of the applicants that were interviewed, the least amount of experience was 6 years. So for those who were fresh out of college and stuff like that, and were trying to apply, no, nobody will call you because people applying have 9 years, 8 years, 7 years, and so that's one thing. And building these resumes, okay, aside from just putting in some keywords, there are a few examples of keywords that I would like everyone to know as far as federal resumes. NIST, as he had stated, it would be a good idea to put the full name there. But there are some things that you probably heard from the classes: NIST, RMF, ISO, Assessor, POAM, SSP. All those keywords that you learn during some of these classes, they are very important to put them in there because we've been made to believe that some of these recruiters are also now using AI and bots and etc. to try to skim through lots of applicants to find people who have skills that they're looking for. So if you have some of these things in your resume, these bots are able to pull your resumes for them to view. Because if they have like maybe 200, 300, 400 applicants, because their job was on Indeed for a month, the recruiter is not going to look at each and every single resume. They will have some algorithms that they'll be looking at to correlate some information on your resumes and then pull those specific ones. And also, also when you create a resume and you try to, um, like I was saying before, you try to put everything in the resume, like maybe 2 or 3 years worth of commercial work. Then you put another 2 or 3 years worth of federal work. Then you try to look for a job in both areas, hoping that maybe they will see that you have experience doing one. So, for example, if you put your first job being a commercial job, and let's just say 2020, let's just say 2019 to 2022, that'll be 3 years. Then you do like maybe 2022 to 2024, that's another 2 years. So let's say you have 3 years federal, you have, sorry, you have 3 years commercial, then you have 2 years federal. Now you're looking for a federal job. The federal job is looking for somewhere around at least 5 years of work experience. They're looking for 5 years work experience in the federal realm. So you have a 5 year resume, but you only have 2 years of federal. So guess what? You're not going to make the cut. On the other hand, if you're looking for a commercial job, they might look at your resume and say You have 5 years of work experience, but guess what? You have only 3 years of commercial experience. So you will not make the cut on that side too. So now you have a good resume with 5 years of experience, but nobody is calling you because you don't seem to have the required number of years to land any of them. And people complain about not making the cut or not getting calls. But these are some of the things. Can I see the other slide again before this one? Okay, current concerns. Yes, okay, tailoring also to the role. So this is good, but it's also bad. It's a double-edged sword. Tailoring your resume to fit a role can get you a call if you do it very well. Sometimes you can look at a job on Indeed, Monster, wherever you're applying, then you pick some keywords from the job description. From the job responsibilities. Then place those things strategically. Reword it in your resume. That'll make you more marketable because if they're looking for someone who can do a scan, somebody who can do this, and you've put it somewhere, you've highlighted it somewhere in your resume. Okay, this guy does scans. You have to be able to defend it though. Because when you go to the meeting, when you go to the interview, since these are exactly what they're looking for, when you go there and they say, oh, okay, so maybe this tool is used for scanning. So now they check and then they see that, okay, in your resume, you stated that you know how to use this tool. They'll definitely ask you, oh, we use this tool here. You said you have some familiarity with it. Can you walk us through doing this? I've experienced that before and it didn't go well for me in my early years of job search. These are things that I've tried before. It got me the calls, but when I got there, I wasn't able to deliver. Okay. So if you are tailoring it, you have to make sure you are tailoring it to something that you can also defend, which you can do your research before you get there. Okay. If you're tailoring it, don't do it blindly. And also, if you are always tailoring your resume for every single application, you will get a phone call and you probably won't remember which resume you use for which. And then you fall into the trap of applying to about 20 different jobs with slightly different resumes for each one. Sometimes you'll be lucky that before the interview or when they send you the interview invite, they might include your your resume, which really isn't for you, but it's for the person who's going to interview you to be able to look at that to interview. Sometimes you'll be lucky, but there are times that they will just send you the invite and then you'll be there like trying to figure out, oh, which resume did I even use for this job? And you don't want that. But anyway, thank you. I'll move to the next slide.
So we're going
Next
back to
slide,
the
please.
job application strategies, or you still want to
Yes.
go then next after this?
No, this one. This one.
Okay.
So, well, landing the interview kind of stems from what we had just started. So in landing the interview, you need a very solid resume. Um, Sometimes it's good to just specialize. If you want to do the commercial route, do a commercial resume. If you want to do federal jobs, make a federal resume. If you've just finished a class and you're just out there trying to learn something as quickly as possible and you're trying everything you can, well, there's also a strategy that I used in the past that I can let you in on. You can create two resumes. Okay. One that is fully federal, one that is fully commercial. Create two different email addresses, have two different phone numbers on them, apply to different websites. So if you have one on Indeed, create a profile on Indeed with one email address that is on the resume with that phone number. Then maybe Glassdoor or somewhere else. Let's just say you want to use that for commercial or Monster, something like that. Create a profile on Monster. Use the other email address that is on the commercial one with that phone number. You can use a Google Voice can give you a phone number. You can get something that's like maybe Simple Mobile, H2O, Metro PCS, something that's not too expensive, that will not be hard on your pocket, you know. and just get a second phone number or maybe a third to be able to handle these two. But then, like I said, you need to make sure that you're creating two separate emails so that when you're contacted in this email, you know that, okay, so if someone contacted me here, this is the federal one. If someone contacted me here, this is the commercial one. Then you can do your follow-ups and stuff like that. And so that's for me to you. So you decide how you want to do it. It's just a suggestion, and that's worked for me in the past. For online job boards, yeah, so there are very popular ones out there. Other than these, there's Monster, there's Glassdoor. Um, I mean, and there are some companies that are really huge, and even if you go on their websites, they have like multiple jobs, and also Google. So you can also look for jobs on just Google, and Google will send you notifications on the same kind of job because Google has kind of like AI now. So the same kind of job that you were searching on Google, it'll start giving you notifications every time somebody posts a job somewhere online. So long as Google is able to pick it up, it will send you a notification that this kind of job is available, and that's also very wonderful. Um, Networking, it's very good to make friends in the field that you want to get into. I always say that when it comes to IT, there are so many areas other than just cybersecurity. There are so many other areas, AWS, Google platforms, business analytics, data, um, and so on and so forth. What I try to advise people is if you're going into an IT role, look for an IT role where you know at least 5 to 10 people in the same field. The reason why I say that is, in as much as you go to a boot camp, you get the best of education, you'll be able to ace your certs. You need someone, you need someone to coach you on how to do a few things. For example, resume building, interview preps, even when you land a job, the basics of it, even though you might be trained at work, but there are one or two questions that, even though they always say this, no question is a dumb question. Really, they are dumb questions. You ask a question and the whole room will go silent. I usually use myself as an example because I've been to a meeting where somebody asked a question, I gave an answer, and it was more than 2 minutes of silence. So it happens. Okay, so yeah, there are things that you just don't ask. And if you have, a good number of connections, once you're able to even land a job, you have people you can rely on if you have questions. Okay, but if you go into a role where you don't know a lot of people, you fall into the position where you're the only one that you know doing this kind of job. You go in there, you need help, and you have nobody to talk to. Then you might end up. Sometimes you might be lucky, you might be able to, stick it out and maintain. But there are some people who go and then they crash, and then things don't work out as it is. I know people who did, for example, something like AWS. They got their first job. They did it for maybe like close to a year or something. Maybe they got laid off or they lost their job. Then they went back to doing something like maybe Uber or something like that because they couldn't get themselves back in because when they went there, they weren't able to do enough, but they don't have anyone to, leverage information from or anyone to hold their hand to show them the way. But they've already been to a class, have sets, and you know stuff like that. So it's always good to network and make sure that whatever direction you decide to go, you have a good amount of resources around you that can, help you up the ladder. Um, Direct applications. Oh, okay, yeah. Also, direct applications. I think someone's microphone is on. There's some echo. Okay. Um, for direct applications and also reaching out to hiring managers. Um, that's a very good way of applying for jobs. So Like I said, if you network a lot and you have a lot of people in the field, it's easy to talk to someone and ask, where do you work? Who is your recruiter? Or who recruited you into this role? What's the name of your company? Who's your HR type of thing? And call, don't be scared to call. There are people just like us. Call them, ask them if they have any roles available that fits your skill set. Tell them a little bit about yourself. If you can't, just tell them that you want to submit your resume for them to review and consider you for any role that they have that fits your skill sets. Short, brief. They'll probably give you an email and then you send your resume to them. By doing so, you have bypassed the 200 people on Indeed that have applied to a role at that company, if they have it, because those are going through the regular channel where they'll either be handpicked by some people, but you have connected with the recruiter or the HR directly. The person will look at your resume. Maybe the job you saw on Indeed was maybe an ISO role, but the person will look at your resume and say, okay, we have an assessor role that we haven't even put on Indeed yet. We're going to put it out there next week. But since I have your resume, okay, then I'll put you down for our first interview. They will put it on Indeed though, but you are ahead of the pack. So sometimes direct applications really, really helps. But if you're able to build connections with people, you'll be able to ask around. As soon as somebody says, oh, I just landed a job somewhere, okay, are they looking for more people? Who's the HR? Who's the recruiting personnel? Who's the talent acquisitions manager? Something like that. And then you take the information and you try to connect with them and, sell yourself very well once you try to, communicate with them. All right. I'll give it to Jojo to also chime in.
Okay, so like Tony said, direct application, like me and Tony have leveraged that a lot. Maybe a hiring manager hits me up and I'm not interested in the job because probably it doesn't suit me. And the hiring manager will tell me, do you know anyone? I tell them that, oh, I have someone that meets the requirements, right? I then, because I don't want to be greedy, there's so much food on the table for everyone to eat, right? So I hit Tony up. Is this role available? Are you interested? Now, because the hiring manager reached out to me directly, I have the direct access to him. All I do is send the email to Tony, reach out to this hiring manager. They're looking for folks in this specific field. If Tony is interested, all he has to do is call, which he has done many, many times. Now you're able to have that one-on-one access with that hiring manager because now we siphon through the bunch of folks, right? We are keen in on specific individuals. Now going back to network, network is super key, right? Like if my organization is hiring, right, I'll definitely hear it first, right? Now before I give that access to someone or or apply for the job, I'm going to go through my friends and see who can meet this role requirement. I'll hit Tony up. Are you interested in the role? Oh no, at the moment I'm not, but I know someone that can. Then Tony will also share this information to someone. So networking is key, is very, very key over here. Do not shy away from it. This platform right now we're talking on, it's a form of networking, right? Your network with like-minded people. Like PK said, he put a job offer out there for ISSO, right? If you're in a Dayton, Ohio area, you can apply. That's a form of networking. So leverage your networking very well. And your networking, like I said in the past, is your network, right? The number of people around you that are able to speak the same language that resonate with you in the form of increase in finances will determine how much well you do in life, right? So you want to network, network, network. Key thing for me, usually I'll go to specific companies' websites, right? If I'm looking for a job at Google, right? I'll go to Google Careers, right? Look at what they have to offer, then apply for the jobs. Or I'll check on LinkedIn, right? I'm big on LinkedIn. Look at whoever the hiring manager is or the recruiter is. Directly email the recruiter. I saw this job position for this particular role at maybe Microsoft or IBM or Netflix. I'm interested in it, right? They are just humans, just like you and I, right? It's just someone taking a chance on you. Is where you end up getting that next role, right? Within the commercial sector, there's flexibility, right? In as much as the federal sector is also the same, it's a little more stringent as compared to the commercial sector because there are a lot of jobs. They're looking for people in multiple places. So you want to be able to leverage your networking, direct application, and also these job boards, right? People are scared like, oh, if I apply on Indeed, I don't hear anything and all those kind of stuff, right? Yes, you might not, but your consistency is key, right? If you have a concise and clear resume, that's what will aid you. And like Tony said in the past, you can have two form of resumes, right? Well, I have a federal background, right? And I also have a commercial background. So when I'm applying for a job for federal jobs, I know what resume to use for federal jobs because I have that years of experience. If I'm applying for commercial job, I know what to use for a commercial background, right? Now, the key thing again is making sure that I'm reviewing that job description well. A lot of people don't look at a job description, right? They just see security analyst. Now you go see something about SQL, Python, scripting, Linux, and you ask yourself, I don't know any of these things. You understand? So with that being said, you want to make sure that you're looking thoroughly into the job description before you apply for the job. Just because it says security analyst, it might not pertain to what you are studying or what you know. So go to somewhere that you are familiar with when it comes to these job application strategies, right? Now let's talk about acing an interview, right? Acing an interview. Now, practice is the key to acing your interview. So when I say practice is the key, you just don't wake up and think you're going to ace an interview. Before I came to this session, right, I had to prep myself and make sure I know the subject I'm about to speak into before I sat on this computer to talk to everyone, right? So I had to practice, right? So like the game say, practice is key to acing your interview. And again, interviewing is a skill by itself, right? So before you talk, you want to make sure you've prepped yourself well, you've prepared yourself, and you have a certain level of confidence, right? So one thing you want to do is you want to start by thoroughly researching the company that you're trying to apply for a job for in that specific role, right? And now, based on the questions they'll ask you, you want to tailor your answers specifically to what you fit into, right? So we have something called the STAR method, right? The STAR basically means the situation, the task, and the results, right? This is how interviewers and hiring managers are always going to interview. They'll give you a situation or a task. What was the action that you took, and what was the results or the outcome of it, right? So if you're able to master these things, I guarantee you ace an interview. Now today, people are not asking you what is risk, what is cybersecurity. Questions are being posed in a real life scenario or behavioral questions, right? What would you do in this scenario, right? So your ability to communicate clearly, right, based on your experience and your problem solving abilities will determine whether you can ace that interview. And this is usually from a non-technical background. Now, for those who have the technical background, maybe you have a background in software engineering or Linux database, right? Being able to articulate yourself from that background and pivot it into a level of cybersecurity is a key concept, right? So you want to make sure that you are ready to answer questions in those relevant roles, right? So at the end of the day, one thing you want to do is know the jargons that are in cybersecurity, specifically to the job description that you're applying for, right? Know what it entails. You have practice. And the thing is, folks and hiring managers want to know the confidence in your voice, right? If I sense a level of panic in your voice, it will pull me back. You might know the job very well, right? But be confident at what you say, right? Because if someone is going to pay you $120,000 plus, right? They want to be confident in what you're going to be delivering to them, right? So the key thing is you want to look the part. Actually, the picture show look presentable, right? These interviews, you want to make sure that you present yourself well in an interview. When they tell you to turn on your camera, you have a nice shirt on, you smile. You don't want to be rigid, right? A lot of people end up sounding scripted in interviews, right? Because they have a cheat sheet they have behind their computer. They are reading it. My name is Kevin Sam. I have worked blah blah blah. When you sound scripted, I know because I've been there. I've sat in interviews and I know when people sound scripted. You want to flow, you want to have a dialogue with the person, right? They ask you, how's your day going? The day is going pretty well. I wish the sun will come down a little bit because it's pretty hot. You have to break the ice. There has to be some form of icebreaker. And you ask the person, how's your day going so far? I can see you've had a lot of meetings for the day. So you can basically consider, oh, they are comfortable with you because at the end of the day, they want to know, are you someone they can relate to if they hire you? Are you a relatable person? Because it's the work culture. Would you fit in? If you're able to fit in that work culture, yeah, good to go. That's the key thing most people are looking for. Will you fit in that work culture? Are you confident enough, right? When they hear your voice, is this someone that commands authority, right? Like when you speak, they'll be like, okay, well, I'm not going to listen to him. I'll wait for his manager. It means they're not confident in you because anytime you speak to them, you fluster. You want to come in a confident manner whereby when you speak, it resonates with the team. Oh, Tony said we're supposed to do this. Let me run these scans. Otherwise, my system will not meet an ATO renewal because he's coming from a place of authority. Now, if you're speaking and you are very unsure of yourself, how are people going to trust you? So the key thing is you want to make sure that you're confident in yourself and exactly what you're doing. Lastly, do not forget to show enthusiasm, right? Do not forget that. Employers are looking for candidates who are not only skilled, but they are passionate about the work, right? So a buddy of mine, he always uses a scenario, right, to explain his jobs. So it's like it picks the audience brains, like, oh wow, they look at it this way. So be passionate about the subject matter you're expecting into because you call yourself a subject matter expert, right? So you want to break into this industry. You want to make sure how versed are you in this subject matter? And I don't expect you to know all, but what you know as an analyst, make sure you deliver. If you do not know, do not try and answer the question. You can say, I've not done this currently, but I've worked with folks who do this and I aid them in meeting that tax requirement. You understand? So there's a way to answer the questions. If you don't know, do not go say something that you do not know. Then you end up digging a hole for yourself. You understand? So at the end of the day, the key thing over here you highlight that be confident in yourself, know your subject material, give a strong impression. If you're able to use the STAR method, not everyone will be able to know that, right? The situation, the task, the action. And one thing I always urge people to do, right? If you have someone that can aid you in having a mock interview, right? Whereby a couple of people will be on the panel and will ask you questions, right? So it allows you to prep yourself day by day. And practice makes perfect, right? You might not ace the first interview, but the subsequent ones, you realize that, okay, this is what I did wrong. So for me, what I end up doing is usually when I'm having interviews, I record my interview sessions, right? And the places I realize that I did not answer, I go back and replay it and tell myself, what could I have done better? Right? If I was speaking too fast, I tell myself, well, because I have an accent, the enunciation will now sound right with them. So what do? I slow down and explain clearly because I'm coming from a background that I have an accent. So it might not resonate with a lot of the hiring managers. So I want to slow down and answer the question very well. A lot of people pull a lot of accents off. If you don't have the American accent, please speak the English you know. They will understand you very clearly. The Indians don't fake it. So don't fake it. Speak the way you know it. Don't try and speak like someone else because all you end up saying, you end up hearing a hiring manager say, can you repeat yourself again? Can you say it again? It means that you're trying to be someone you're not. Speak clearly and in a concise manner. I'll pass it over to Tony as we delve into salary negotiation. So Tony, you can go ahead with the salary negotiation, please.
Okay. So for salary negotiation, Know your worth. It's very important. Sometimes, especially for beginners, you might not have a good idea of what the role pays. So you might go in there and they might ask you a question, how much are you willing to take for this role? And you'll be just on the phone, with nothing to say. But you can do a little bit of research. Right now, the all the information is online. Luckily, on some job sites, they give you an estimation of what some of the salaries, sorry, of what some of the jobs will offer. So it makes it easier for you. Sometimes they give a role and they say maybe 100 to maybe 180. And you think, oh, maybe this role can pay me like 180. Usually, with that, take the difference and divide it by two. That's what you're probably going to get paid. That margin is just there to entice you to apply. It's really you're really not gonna get the highest one. But so whatever it is, so let's say if it's 100 to 180, somewhere around since the gap is 80, somewhere around 40. So something like 140 should be like a decent target where you can easily get. Um, Sometimes you don't want to say something that is too high to prevent them from hiring you. Because I've been on a panel where we came down to two possible hires, but the other one was picked because one guy was aiming for the highest possible offering for the role, and the other person was okay with just whatever would be offered. Even though both of them, or I would say even the other one, probably had a little more experience. They were willing to pay less for somebody else that they felt could equally do the job. So sometimes, in as much as you don't want to sell yourself short and say something that is too low, because I've also been in a role where I sold myself short for about 60,000 less. And I'm very sure they were very happy to hire me because I was still doing the same job that somebody would have done for way more money, and so productivity will be the same and they will save money. But yeah, you need to know how to navigate that. When you get in there, as he said, um, as Jojo had said, in trying to build a rapport or a good, or start a good conversation with someone who is interviewing you or the recruiter, let me give you, from me to, the team, something that you can just say to a recruiter when they ask you, um, just being jovial or just trying to, create some sort of humor. Someone might just ask me, so how much are you expecting for this role, or how much are you willing to take for this role? I just go ahead and say, oh, I'm looking for 500K. And they're usually like, excuse me? And I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for something like 500K. They're like, oh, yeah, right. Then, we just laugh about it. I'm like, okay, so what are you offering? Then they just go ahead and tell me what um, maybe the company is offering, but there are some times when sometimes if you don't do these things and it's too rigid, as Georgia said, if you're too rigid, you're not able to ask them because sometimes they expect you to, come up with a range or something. But like I said, if you're able to throw some of these things out there, you can just ask them and they'll just tell you, so sometimes these things also come in. And um, yes, confidence is also a big one. Um, and oh, one thing to know in this IT realm, certificates are very big. The more certificates you have, the more you're able to climb up and the more you're able to command a certain amount of money. I've been in roles where the difference between me and some of my colleagues were probably 30,000, which might be unusual because we are doing the same work. But the level of experience that I bring on board and the level of experience that they brought on board, even though we're in the same team, we are doing the exact same work. You'll be making more money than the next guy. I've also been in a team where it has been, vice versa. but confidence in asking for some of these and also getting these certifications also makes you more marketable. You get a lot more calls and you're able to command more experience. Some people say, oh, college degrees and masters and stuff like that are not, you know, don't really help you to get a job. They don't really help you to get a job, but they help you to command more money. Because I've been in a situation where even I'm able to go past the cap because I'm able to tell them that, okay, you're looking for this and this and this. I have all of this, and I even have that and that and that. So even if this is what you're paying the people, I feel like I deserve more. And for that reason, maybe then I can say that I deserve this amount. And then we can negotiate. It's just like being in the market, negotiating on a price. So, Jojo, would you want to chime in or
Yes.
anyone have any question?
Yeah, so just to add to what Tony's saying, right? It's like talk about research your salaries, right? So when you're negotiating for your salary, right, and they ask you how much are you willing to take, right? Like we said, you don't want to sell yourself too high, neither do you want to sell yourself too short, right? So you ask for what is being offered. Also, you can also tell them upon research of this particular role, the market demand for this particular role is paying between this range, right? So once you're able to tell them you're able to tell them that they know that, oh, you know exactly what you're talking about. So the goal is to be able to research exactly what you're talking about for that specific role. Like Tony said, some jobs will say they're offering between 110 to 180,000. Now, the 180,000 is for someone who's a senior role, the highest they'll give, and the 110 is for the lowest role. So you yourself, you look at yourself and ask yourself, where do I fall? Am I a mid-senior or am I a junior level role? Then you strike a good bargain that will fit you. Because 90% of the time you might not get that 180. But if you think you might get the 180, you can say, oh, you're pushing towards 170. It's closer to 180 than 150. And if they will offer it to you, they'll give it to you. But then it all depends on how well you ace that interview, right? If they are confident that you articulated yourself well, you know your subject matter expert well, or you're able in some job interviews, they might give you like a labs to perform or walk them through a process of how you perform certain installations, right, on a specific system. If you're able to go through the process very well, they'll be like, you are the guy and you might end up getting a bonus in regards to it. Also, if you're coming from an environment that you are given a bonus and you're pivoting into this career, you want to make sure that you're able to receive that same bonus from that environment you're coming from. So being able to negotiate that salary will determine whether you get the job or not. But the key thing over here we want to talk about is your confidence level. If you're not confident, they can just put numbers out there. Now, the Indians recruiters, they are very good at lowballing you, right? So never go out there with a number. Always ask, what is being offered for this particular role? Now, when they give you the numbers, then you also look down and ask yourself, okay, you're seeing they're offering between $60 an hour to $75 an hour. What can I take? And you ask yourself, currently, what am I earning? So you say, maybe you might be earning $60 an hour, but you want to do better. So you say, I'm willing to take between 65 and 70 if that offer is there, right? Because you didn't give a specific number, 65 to $70 an hour. They'll look at it. If they can work with you, no. If they cannot, you negotiate to the best salary that works for you. Because at the end of the day, you are the one who's going to be paying the bills at your home. You're the one that's going to be doing the job demand, how demanding it is. So you want to make sure that you are well compensated. Because once you negotiate that salary and they start paying you, it will take you another 2 to 3 years before you get a salary increase. Right. And sometimes the annual salary increase is less than 2%. So that's one thing that you want to look into very well. Now let's jump onto the next slide because I want us to get into questions as soon as possible. And we talk
Yeah,
about
so
alignment.
Jojo, how many more slides do we have?
I think we have just two more slides and that's it.
Okay. All right.
All right. So we already talked about resume alignment for commercial sector. Like Tony spoke for the federal roles. You want to make sure that you align your resume to what the federal sector is talking about. I don't expect you to go and take an RMF class and apply for a GRC role and expect you to land it, right? You might, but the chances are very slim to none. So you want to make sure you align your resume to the specific job description for those commercial roles, right? So like we said, make sure you tailor your resume to what the job description is looking for. If it's looking for ISO 27000, you put that in your resume. If it's looking for PCI DSS, you put that in your resume, right? If the job is not looking for NIST, why would you put NIST in your resume, right? They're looking for specific job roles, right? If looking for someone who has used a GRC tool like Zendex, like ServiceNow GRC or OneTrust, you put that in there. That would aid you to probably being pulled out of the lot, right? And another thing is in the commercial sector, I've noticed, right, being an analytical and problem solving individual will take you far, right? So being able to tap into those resources is a key thing that you can go to. Let me jump onto the next one. Federal resume alignments. Like Tony said, uh, you want to align exactly what the federal resume is talking about, right? FISMA, NIST, you want to put that in there. There are some jobs that will say USA jobs, if that's when you want to be a federal employee. Now, there's a whole process to go through applying a job through USA jobs if you want to become a GS employee or whatever. Now, we're not going to delve into that over here. If you want to have those sessions, you can always reach out to myself or Tony with the number on the platform that PK has put in the chat, and will aid you to go into those processes of preparing yourself to build the right resume for the right job. You understand? So you can reach out to us and we'll have that dialogue over there. The next thing we talk about continuous learning. If you look at the last session that we had, right, the key thing that we chime in is to make sure you're pursuing those certifications, right? You're learning the basics of the IT security field, right? Now, I think I read in the comment section, I have no IT background. How can I jump into it? Yes, the first thing is to start with the fundamentals, the basics of IT. CompTIA security class, the bootcamp classes people are offering. Jump into it. You don't need to necessarily have a technical background to know IT. You have to start from somewhere. We all started from somewhere. So take that online course, take that basic class, and it takes money to make these courses happen. So apply and make sure that you take those fundamental courses. Also, if you have the capability to attend conferences or workshops, that's a good place to go. You learn as is again, like I said, IT is not static. It changes, it evolves each and every day. So as the trends are changing, you also change with it. So you're attending these conferences and workshops so you learn new things that are happening. And last but not least, please read, read, read. If you're someone that's not good with reading or doesn't want to research, I'll urge you and tell you this might not be the field for you. If you don't like reading or you don't like going over things, or you know someone that has good writing skills, I want you to rethink about this industry and ask yourself if it's for you. Again, IT is not for everyone. It's how bad you want it will determine whether you get a job or not. With that being said, the floor is open for questions.
All right. So before we do go or delve into the questions, let me go ahead and read some comments. Then we're gonna open up for questions. Start from the top. Solomon Frimpong, I see your message. Thank you very much. He said this is so beautiful. Keep it up, stay blessed. Then we go to a couple guys who sent me a message about liking to be part of it. Okay, that's good. Bright Osei Bonsu says, hello, thank you for this educative platform. Please, my question is, I'm not a tech guy, but I'm eager to enter into cybersecurity. How do I start? Tony gave the information out, so please contact the information that was given out there and basically get that taken care of. Joseph says, between cybersecurity and AWS cloud practitioner, which one should I delve into, and which institution should I join?
Okay, I can answer this question right now. AWS cloud practitioner, you just study to know about the cloud environment. You're not actually an actual expert in cloud, right? It's just saying you want to learn or CompTIA security plus the fundamentals. The cloud practitioner is knowing the cloud environment and what it entails. You can use a cloud practitioner certificate to get any really job unless you want to go to become a solution architect, right? So it all depends on you, the individual, right? Now, AWS is also an aspect of cybersecurity. Like I said, it's in the cloud space. So you have to look within yourself and ask, does cloud resonate with me more or ISSO resonate with me more? So you have to take that leap of faith. I'm someone, I love the cloud field. I've not delved into it yet. If I have the opportunity and the time to do so, I'll definitely do so. But then you have to take a chance upon yourself and say, what resonates with me more? If I'm a technical folk and I'll excel in cloud security, go ahead and do that because again, IT is a universal language. You don't necessarily need to speak a specific language to understand it. You can work anywhere in the world. The cloud platform is used everywhere in Europe, Asia, America, even Africa. So it all depends on you, the individual. You can also reach out to us and we can give you more information about.
Okay.
Tony, you want to chime in?
Oh, okay, so quickly, so as you stated, AWS Cloud Practitioner is completely, I would say, 80% different from cybersecurity. One thing I would say is YouTube has a lot of information. Just try to get a video on each of them, watch something brief on it, and see where your interest lies and move forward. I also stated before that if you network and you have a lot of people in a particular field, it would probably be advisable to take that route because you have a lot of resources, as in friends, to leverage or tap knowledge from once you get to the point when you're looking for work. Because you can take a class, but finding a job is not that easy. Once you're done with the class, you're done. You need someone to hold your hand to move you up the ladder. So.
All right. Sidako has a question. Sidako says, so for someone who does not have the amount of experience needed,
Okay, so for
how do
someone that
how do you tailor your resume?
so again, like if you remember when Tony was saying, right, you tailor your resume to the specific or environment you're trying to get into, right? So if you want to be in the commercial space, right, and it's requiring you to have 5 years, right? The 5 years will be pertaining to what you've done in the past, right? Then you tailor to it. Like let's say you want to be an IT auditor, right? And you used to work at, let's say, Chase Bank as a teller, right? You have done some basic IT knowledge over there, but that 5 years experience will count, right? Now you should be able to speak into what you've put in that resume for yourself. That's why we don't want you to have a combination of say you've worked 3 years over here and 5 years over here. It doesn't, when you do the computation, doesn't add up. You understand? So you want to stick to one particular framework or industry and apply for a specific job, right? I don't want you to go and lie on your resume and say you work at Deloitte because you might not meet me at that interview. Who might be generous enough and say, "Oh, you're coming from where I'm coming from. Let me give you a chance." The other person might not give you the opportunity. You understand? So you want to stick to your guns and keep it as minimum as possible. Now, if you don't have that years of experience, you apply for an entry level role. You understand? Yes, Tony said maybe you might be applying for folks that have 9 years, right? But you take a chance on yourself. We all took chances on ourselves, and that was what aided us to get where we are today. Just because you don't have that 9 years or 10 years experience doesn't necessarily mean that you might not get a job. Someone might take a chance on you. You might be willing to take that $90,000 and it might give you that offer. So that's something that I want to speak into. I'll leave it to Tony to chime in on that.
I mean, go ahead,
Sorry.
Tony.
So yeah. So in tailoring your resume, because you don't have the experience, yeah, you can. To me, I would say just be mindful of your age. You know, sometimes people put maybe 10 years of experience, then they get the job. Once they're going through their background check, they realize this guy is probably 22, 23. Then it doesn't make sense. Then you're blacklisted. I've seen that before. You know, so yeah, just be mindful of the years, and also sorry, some people haven't worked in areas where they feel they can use them because some of our local people, maybe you're doing nursing home or maybe group home or Uber and stuff like that, and you can't put them on your resume because um you're applying for a job. It might be, but you might have been to a class. These people have IT companies. You can ask them to use their companies, or you have friends who have companies, or you yourself, you open a company. It's okay to use someone's company so long as you have their permission to put on your resume. Then you can put the years and just let them know that they'll be called for reference, and that's fine.
All right, Joseph. I see your question, but we're gonna reserve that for the Q&A session with Tatap and for the purpose of this presentation, let's keep proceeding with the questions. iPhone says good presentation. Bouquet says very good presentation. And iPhone comes back to say which sector, be it cybersecurity or data and analytics, has more job opportunities.
Okay, I think statistics have already proven that cybersecurity has over 3.5 million jobs filled globally, and even in America, we have over 1 million jobs still unfilled, right? So just do the math and ask yourself, which job has more opportunities? I'll say cybersecurity, right? Yes, data analytics is also a growing field, but the salary margin in cybersecurity is way larger as compared to data analytics, right? I can guarantee you, in data analytics, you'll be competing with a lot of Indians. These are the people who are making the real applications. You are just coming over there to come and be a number. So you'll be competing with the real deal, right? So it all depends on you, the individual, right? So cybersecurity has so many fields whereby you're coming from a non-technical background. You find roles in non-technical fields in cybersecurity, and you can also pivot to the technical roles. So it depends on you. But I'll be biased to cybersecurity, and uh, the numbers don't lie. The Department of Labor, it said it. I don't own it. It's a federal organization, and that's what you're saying. So I just go with it. So
Okay.
it's a good
So
place
I'm
for you
gonna
to be.
ask these last two questions from YouTube. Then after
Mhm.
that, we're gonna open up the mic for people to ask questions for another 5 to 10 minutes. Then we're gonna call this show, call it off. From New Normal TV, says Tony, we are here for all your knowledge. And Cyber Ninja, I like that name. Cyber Ninja says, I just got my Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Cybersecurity Engineering degree, but no real time experience. Help. Um, Basically, where do I go from here? I suggest that you do, contact them and just talk to them about it. That way you can have some access to it. So, Jojo, do you mind if you project the PowerPoint for your contact information one more time for the purpose of those that are on YouTube and on Facebook so that they can actually copy that information from there? All right, so the email address is acwayconsult@gmail.com. ACWAY consult CONCULT @gmail.com. Or you can call the number at 410-635-4217. The number again is 410-635-4217. And the email address is acwayconsult@gmail.com. So at this point, please unmute yourself, state your name and where you're calling from, and what your questions are. We have about 4 to 9 minutes to end this program. If you have any questions, please, especially those on Zoom, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, PK. I have a question, please.
Yes, about
So my question is, I know during COVID, during the lockdown, cybersecurity became very, very, very popular. The demand was high. Right now, what are the chances? I know that people are doing these boot camps and it's taken, some people are easily sliding and gliding into this work environment in cybersecurity, while others it's taken them a long time. Like I know people who've taken the course since COVID. So what is your advice to people? So basically some of these people are now going back and enrolling in a community college to see if that would be a better easy way of getting into that career for them. What is your advice to individuals who are struggling right now? Yes, like the gentleman said earlier that he doesn't have any knowledge of IT background, and so are many of these people who are also taking these boot camp courses. So I have two questions for you. What is your advice for people who are trying to, basically break that gap to really get into this workforce? And also, when it comes to building the resume, and you were being adamant about using jobs that you've done or whatever, something that you're familiar with, how does one use that as a resume if they just newly graduated, and let's say they use their place of employment, and like how do you do that? How do you merge that field and be confident enough to answer questions when it comes to using those past employees that you use, like that you used to work for?
I'll take this question in that twofold as you asked, and I'll let Tony chime in afterwards, right? So first question is cybersecurity during COVID was a big thing and everybody was coming into it, right? Now folks have not been able to get into it as they've been searching on a consistent basis. The word is how consistent are you in searching? What are you doing wrong? You're putting a generic resume out there. You come when you feel like it, right? I'm not picking on you or Bob, but like folks come when they feel like it, right? They'll try one time, it's not working, and they'll go back to whatever they're doing. And they hear from a friend, Charlie, I just got a job in the cybersecurity field. Then they come and try again, right? Oh, you have to be consistent in this cybersecurity field. And as things are changing, you change with it, right? It evolves, right? So if you look at your resume and you're not getting interview calls, there's something you're probably doing wrong, right? You need to reach out to someone and someone who will be honest with you. Hey, your resume is not aligning very well. I look at the grammar in your resume, it doesn't resonate well with the kind of jobs you're applying for. I think you need to revamp it, right? You need to fix your resume. That's why folks in the boot camps offer resume, what you call it, services. Some might not, right? But you want to make sure that you ask the questions in the class that nobody will ask, like what you just did about. You ask about those questions. How do I land these jobs? What do I do? You ask. Is that by chance you guys offer mock interviews, whereby I can prep myself as to how I can talk to a recruiter? Right? Because the first line is to be able to get your resume recognized by a recruiter, then they will call you. Now, if you can't speak to a recruiter the right way, they will like, you don't fit the job, right? So they'll just sideline you. So first of all, being consistent, looking at what you did wrong, realign your resume, and ask yourself, is this cybersecurity for me? Just because everybody's getting into it doesn't mean it's for you. It might not be for you. So ask yourself, how bad do you want and how bad do I want to get into it? Right? I received a lot of rejections upon transitioning from the military to get into cybersecurity, but that did not deter me for saying I would not be in cybersecurity. I kept on pushing. And someone opened that door for me. You understand? The salary I started with wasn't really nice, but as time went on with my consistency and getting better at the job, I received something that looks nice today. You understand? So you might not end up getting that first 100,000. Someone might give you 80,000, 90,000. Just take it. It's an opportunity, right? And be consistent in looking, in searching, networking. Just because you finish a boot camp doesn't end over there. And you don't only study the stuff given to you at the boot camp. There are other resource materials. Like if you listen to our last session before today's, there are other resource materials like YouTube and Google has the best information to give. They have the best information to give. I'll let Tony answer the second question in regards to the resume and what you put over there. So Tony, please go ahead.
Okay, first of all, let me the first question. So you need a mentor. you need a mentor to guide you. That's one of the things that I said. When you get into something, make sure you have friends who are already in the field. They can guide you because they are already in the field. They'll push you up the ladder. Also, as he stated, there are resources out there. The boot camps that we're going to, maximum is 3 months. You're going against people for the same interview, people who have 4 year college degrees for cybersecurity, 2 years masters for cybersecurity. You've only done 3 months, but you want to rub shoulders with them and go and look for the same job. Guess what? You need to put in a lot of work other than just what you're learning for the 3 months in the class. You need to be someone who is hungry for knowledge. You need to just read outside what you've just learned because most of these boot camps are just tailored to things that are similar to on the job training, So just bear that in mind that you're going against people who have actually done like 4 year degrees and stuff like that for these. So you need to do your own research and add up to the knowledge that you got from this. And also when you stated something about resumes, right? How the resumes should be done to be able to get a job. About that's what you're asking, right?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. So as I stated, you can leverage companies that you know that are owned by maybe some of your friends, some LLCs, etc., because you can use them as references. And when they call them to verify your employment, they can speak for you. Also, um, confidently put companies that, let's say if you've worked in an insurance company before, maybe you've worked in one of these offices or whatsoever, you can put the information there. Just make sure that whoever is picking the call when they do the reference is maybe somebody that you can, speak to and let them be a good point of reference for you. Sometimes when people call to do references, they only call and they don't ask for the specific role. They might just ask maybe on a scale of 1 to 10. Is the person a good employee? Is the person somebody you like to rehire? Is the person punctual? What kind of, those kind of basic questions. Sometimes you're not really concerned as to what you were doing at the job. You just want to know if you're worth, you know, um, hiring again. And maybe they might ask for maybe how long you worked there, the time frame, and sometimes they might ask for the role, you know. But yeah, sometimes just comfortably put it there. When I first started looking for work, I even had um, I actually searched for companies that don't exist anymore, companies that have maybe have shut down, and I put them on my resume because if the company is not existing anymore, you can't call and do a background check on you.
That's very clever.
Yeah,
That's actually
so
very clever.
when I
Yeah.
started, I put that. Yeah, so I put that on my resume, and I put whatever role I wanted to put there. I can't remember the specific. I don't know if it was desktop support or something that I put on there, but I know nobody can find out because companies no more. But I just made sure that I researched online, found out if the company ended maybe 2010. I'm not gonna put up to 2011. I have to be smart about it. So I worked there till the time when the company was shut down, or maybe there was a merger or something, yeah, type of thing. So just think outside the box to be able to do it. Yeah.
All right.
Are there interns for these kind of positions in cybersecurity too? Do they hire people who just want to basically learn and just do internship without pay?
It
So certain
depends.
organ yeah,
Okay.
certain organizations offer that, right? So you have to research which organizations that offer those internships, right? So if you're in college, you want to go ahead and look into that thoroughly, you know. And there are certain boot camps that have collaboration with certain organizations that offer internships, right? So you have to research and use that avenue. Tony, you can go ahead, please.
Yeah, check federal websites all the time. The government is always trying to get people into jobs. So usually before the summer, I know in the US right now, I think last week or something like that, opened something for the Office of OMB, sorry,
Yeah.
OPM, Office of Personnel Management. Yeah, they open it up and people are able to put in applications for internship next summer. It's open now but I'm not really sure what the website is. So the government does that, and lots of private companies also do it too. But research.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you guys very much. We're gonna take Solomon, then we will call it a day. Solomon,
Yeah, PK. Yeah. Tony and
what is your
Jojo, thank you for
Mhm.
the how should I say, the beautiful lecture. And again, from the last statement, I can confirm. I mean, I work in the Fed, and I can confirm that. I mean, but I'm not into cybersecurity. I can confirm that they are hiring for, I mean, intern. I mean, so if anybody is interested, I mean, that person can go to USA Jobs, and they can look into it. But it is through the school, like the college programs. So that is what I can say. Yeah, I have a couple of questions here. I mean, I know some guys, or I will say that some group who does I mean, interview for people after they've taken you through these
Solomon.
yeah.
Yeah, but people can do interviews for people. That would be way it's over too illegal. So I would not I appreciate we proceed with that
So we
comment.
don't condone that
We don't go,
Yes.
yes, yeah. I mean, yes, that was what I mean, exactly.
I
I
think
was
he's trying to land a point.
exactly that was what I was coming to say. That, I mean, what do you say about that? Because if you do that for me and I go and I don't perform, what is the, I mean, essence of doing that? So do you have any recommendation, I mean, about that? Yeah. So that is
so
my, I mean, my
so I'll
first.
start. Yeah, that's we've seen a lot of that in them.
Exactly. Yes.
So I'll speak on it and I'll let Tony finish, right?
Okay.
So I've seen so many instances where I've interviewed folks and they've come to jobs and someone spoke, right? But when they started a job, it was a different face, right? But then, not to be, excuse me to say, that asshole, right? I don't say anything. But someone within the organization will know that, no, you're not the one, right? Because first of all, your job ethics and day to day doesn't meet the standard. You understand? And you realize that, wait a minute, there's not one particular person that might be good with faces. And we'll say, wait a minute, this wasn't the person we interviewed, right? And if you're unlucky, HR will reach out to you, and when they get rid of you, it becomes a stain on your what you call it, your job applications. We don't condone that. People do it, but there's one thing I'll say: do it at your own risk. But if you're a person of integrity, you want to make sure you do the right thing, and when you get into the job field, you be able to execute, right? Listen, we all started whereby we flustered in interviews, but practice makes perfect. Practice, record these sessions. Let's play them back, see where you faltered at. You get better at it. Nobody is woke up and became a doctor. They had to go through 7, 10 years, 15 years of school. They practice the same way we also practice. That's how we got over here. I leave it over to Tony to add to it.
Sorry. All right. So most people are unaware that there are some organizations that take screenshots when people are doing interviews. And once you land a job and you're doing your I-9 and all those things, where you have to submit your either your passport or your ID card, etc., they check the image they took during the interview, and then they check what you're submitting for your ID. It might not work out. Another scenario is sometimes they might have you sign something like maybe they won't just say social media, but they might say social media, maybe IRS, bank information, um, also, and then put in a few things in there to make it look like, oh, it's something that's really necessary. Maybe they're doing my clearance, so they want to check my, my tax record, stuff like that, to see if maybe I've been compliant. The moment you sign that, trust me, the next day they might rescind your offer because they probably seen, and especially those who have the same email for, social media, etc., and also job search, all those kind of things. They can just use your email to look for you online, and then they will realize that the person doing the interview is not the same person who has this email on social media, etc. And sometimes they record people too, And like he said, work ethics. Once you start the job, people can tell. Like I said, I've been in a meeting where I said something and there was like a 2 minute silence. So, and when you get in there, people will know that you're new. People can tell you're new, or people can tell that you have no idea and it doesn't match the person who spoke to get the job. You'll be let go easily. And one thing you don't want is to be blacklisted from a company because in this cybersecurity realm, um, on the federal side, most of the jobs are cleared. Once you do your clearance, you need to state the places you've worked before, places you've been fired before. All those things are records that will follow you for the rest of your life in your federal employment. You don't want to be fired from a place because of some of these things, because it'll follow you throughout your career.
All right. Thank you very much, Although this is where time permits us for us to bring the show to you. It has been a very beautiful time with Jojo and Tony. At this point, I'm going to call upon director to give his final sign-on words. Then we will thank you guys one more time again as director sign us out. Director. Director, if you're on the show, can you please sign us out? A-Class, can you please sign us out?
abusuafoɔ ɛda mo nam ase paa ɛda nnua tɔne adu ne nnua bɛrima na ɔba last no nso so ase paa for this world death in knowledge a mode ama yɛn nyame nhyira wo kɛse paa ɛbɛhyerɛ sɛ bɛkɔ so a nso yɛde nkurɔfoɔ bɛba na ɔmo nso ɔmo aba bɛsua na ɔmo aba bɛte deɛ adɔfoɔ nso de bɛma yɛn so nyame nhyira wo na thanks very much bro and Tony do as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Once again, big thanks to Jojo and Tony for such a great presentation, and to everyone that asked the question. We want to say big thank you to you guys as well because you guys have unlocked some keys that people are waiting to get answers for. So that's great. Thank you guys. This is where we draw the curtains to an end when it comes to Facebook and YouTube. But we're still gonna be on Zoom in case anybody has any questions concerning TapTapSend. Please bring all your questions concerning TapTapSend. Join the Q&A session with TapTapSend. And our month for cybersecurity was, I should say, or can say, was fully and well invested and also, delved into. And I'm pretty sure most people will walk out of here with a different mindset to make a different impact in their lives, but not only in their lives, but also make an impact in the world. Because once you become a cyber security professional, you're also contributing towards safeguarding an extra layer of security when it comes to cyber warfare and attacks. Thank you guys very much. I want to say big thanks again to each and everyone that listened and watched from your various homes and various platforms, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. Again, my name still remains PQ for SSO, and I'm with my prolific producer, Nana Lord, Nana Boats, and also A-Class and Danny at large. Thank you guys very much, and I'm going to hand over to A-Class for the next segments with the Q&A session with TapTapSend.